Hey there, hello, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Degrassi video on this Sunday, December the 6th, 2020. I know that it's ironic that I'm taping this on International Women's Violence Prevention Day, and I did a video last year that got a bit of flack because of how I was talking about violence against women and all that in Degrassi and all that. Truth be told, this was supposed to be taped a few days earlier, but because of some strange things with my computer and storage and all that, I taped it, but then it never came up. So basically, I have to redo it. So I'm going to share with you 20 what ifs to do with the Rick Berry situation. I know I did a video about it, a couple of them, in 2018, 2019, but I decided to do it like a modernized thing because I had more what ifs I could have figured. First of all, is what if zero tolerance was fully enacted? Now, in Degrassi, the only mention of zero tolerance that we basically heard about before season 4 was when Jimmy was trying to outshine Sean on the basketball team and basically took one of Spinner's ADD pills so that he could sink the winning shot, and he hurt Sean in the process. Unfortunately, though, Coach Armstrong thinks Jimmy is being selfish and kicks him off the team. Jimmy basically gets mad at Sean, and then they have a fight, and then Sean inadvertently strikes Emma because of that fight. So basically, zero tolerance wasn't talked about until Hatzalakos said it. Basically, when she talks to Spinner about the paint and feathers thing, and Spinner confesses everything to her, she said, "We have zero tolerance. I have no choice but to expel you. Your actions put a boy in a grave and a boy in a wheelchair." So basically, it's like this zero tolerance, where did it come from? And all that. Well, how come it wasn't meant? And was zero tolerance enacted on the show? Probably not. I think a few times zero tolerance should have been placed in and got characters in trouble. But the fact of the matter is, without this, the zero tolerance thing was probably a way at the school board by punishing the Degrassi students for their bullying of Rick. I mean, yeah, Rick was the bad guy the whole time of taking a gun to the school, but basically their bullying of him was inexcusable and all that. So basically, they've slapped zero tolerance on Degrassi. I think it was the school board, the whole school board too, but I don't know. But if zero tolerance was fully enacted, then basically anyone who really tore into Rick would have been either suspended or expelled. So basically, not too many characters would have been left. Heck, I don't know how many Degrassi students would have been left unscathed. Like 90% of them probably would have had at least a detention to their name and all that. But then again, it's an inattentiveness as the previous administration. You know who I'm talking about. But of course, if it was fully enacted, I think Rick would have got his answers, and basically nobody would have been able to touch him. Next is, what if Alex actually confessed her role in the paint and feathers thing? Basically put, Alex was the mastermind behind this, in a sense. Jay and Spitter were concocting the paint and feathers. Alex would dump it on Rick from above and all that. So basically what happened was that, Alex did that. And then when she heard about the shooting and all the stuff, the shootings going on, she basically says, "Why did I get involved?" And Jay tells Alex, "You're alive, aren't you?" So basically put, Alex was not blamed at all. When Spitter and Jay got in trouble, they didn't pivot anything on Alex, mostly because, because of the bathroom. In the bathroom, when Rick's trying to clean himself up, they basically told Rick that Jimmy was behind this the whole time, and that's what's got him shot. So basically, Alex basically gets no punishment whatsoever. She tries to join the social circle of Paige's group, which was she filled the void left by Spinner. And basically she gets in a relationship with Paige. She gets close to Paige and all that. Although she didn't get like a happy ever after, if you will. So what if Alex confessed? Well, it's hard to say. Would Alex have been expelled like her contemporaries Spinner and Jay? Or is it possible that because she played a lesser role in it, possibly that Hatzalakos may have suspended her but not expelled her? But either way, Alex would have lost her student council vice presidency because of her actions, and maybe Liberty pulls in at the number 2 position behind Marco. So anyway, yeah, I think Alex would have had a nice story arc too. Maybe she still has a relationship with Paige and all that. Anyway, so what if Sean never left after season 4? Well, during season 4. As we all know, Sean basically was not involved in this whole Rick situation until the time that Rick decides to pull the gun to Emma, and Sean is with Emma and Toby. Basically, Sean calms Rick down, tries to calm Rick down, saying that what you're doing is worse. And as a police officer, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to calm down the suspect. Maybe the suspect gives in and all that. But Rick doesn't give in, saying that it's too late. I already shot somebody. It can't get any worse. But it did get worse. As Sean and Rick wrestle for the gun, and the gun goes off and Rick gets shot. Sean accidentally had his hand on the trigger. In the episode Back in Black, he basically tells things like he's a hero and he feels great about it. But when his parents make some kind of statement, he decides to go to Wasaga Beach to confront them. But he learns that they sent him to Toronto with his brother because Sean was facing trouble for deafening that kid, Tyler. Of course, Ellie finds out that Sean may be embellishing the story about Tyler. So anyway, Sean decides to go on a jet ski and partially jumps, in a sense. I think he wanted to kill himself. Like, he didn't want to open up to Ellie. Tyler saves his life, and basically Sean realized something. And then Sean tells his parents that basically he accidentally shot his person. He accidentally shot Rick dead, and he was frightened that he was going to get in trouble with the law, in a sense. So he stays in Wasaga. But it's weird how Sean came back in season 6 out of freaking nowhere. I was like, what? So Emma basically was upset. Now, of course, Emma wanted to be with Sean. You could see that Emma wanted to be with Sean because, Sean was a boy and Sean saved her life. And it's like, which other guy would do that? Which Toby was not a chicken. But, So anyway, what if Sean had not left? Well, hard to say. I have a feeling he still would have been with Ellie, but Emma still probably would have had feelings for Sean because, as I said, Sean saved her life and all that. And basically, she probably figures that nobody else would have been brave enough. So basically, yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, Toby is a great person, but he could have done better. But I think that basically Sean would have stayed with Ellie. Remember, it hit Ellie hard too when Sean left because Ellie, was all by herself. Speaking of Toby, the next what if is what if PTSD was more talked about. Now, I know that it was clearly established that Sean and Emma had PTSD and all that. And, Sean, it wasn't official how Sean admitted he had troubles. But maybe that's the first step of PTSD. I don't know. But Emma, had PTSD. And basically it manifested itself in secret by going to the ravine and getting sexual favors from Jay and all that, trying to make herself feel better after just can't get over the shooting. But then again, there was another PTSD problem that Degrassi writers didn't push on, and that was Toby. Simply put, is that Toby basically had PTSD because, remember, Toby was left high and dry by the fact that JT wanted to be with Danny. I think JT wanted to be with Liberty, though, because why would he want to hang out with Danny, like Liberty's brother? But anyway, Toby was all by himself. Rick and him got paired up in Wacky Brain and classes, and basically they found out they're geeks with glasses, and they basically like role-playing games. So they decided to have a kissing bet. They get kisses from Emma, by pity, of course, but Toby ends up crushing Rick in the count, even though Toby pays Darcy $5 to kiss Rick and all that. Toby gets scorned by the bullies, and basically the bullies want to take care of him. And basically, Rick tells Jimmy about how, Toby's going to get harassed because of Rick's actions. So yeah, Toby was there when Sean and Rick fought for the gun, and basically Rick died and all that. Toby doesn't know how to feel because, is he a psycho? But he's also my friend. He's a psycho, but he's my friend. Like, that's a form of PTSD. Like, thankfully, though, JT did apologize for his actions in mishandling Toby. Although Manny chewed him out for it. But basically, I think it would have been easier for Toby to have PTSD and all that. And basically for Toby to talk about his PTSD throughout many of the later episodes. Because I think they just basically did Toby dirty after season 4. Well, especially after JT dies. Next is, what if Emma talked to somebody after school because of Rick kissing her? Now, of course, we all know Rick got painted and feathered, and basically Emma decides to track Rick down and basically tell him that it doesn't matter about the paint and feathers. People are going to remember you giving us the win and rack your brain. Rick agrees and then starts to kiss Emma. Emma basically goes, Rick, what are you doing? I thought you loved me. I took pity on you. Get a clue. And that's when Rick basically goes home and finds the gun and basically wants revenge. But he goes after Paige first, not Emma. So basically put, is that, Emma had the threat of a kiss from Rick and all that. So, of course, the what if is, what if she actually did that? Now, I was concerned. I was like, why didn't Emma just immediately go straight to somebody about Rick kissing her and all that? But I think people said that she wanted to get on with her day. So basically she does. And basically she knew that after school she knew she had Simpson because, Simpson is her teacher and her stepfather. So basically he would have had to intervene with things. Emma would have told him, and Snake would have had to ask Rick about the stuff and all that. But there's also the other issue is, okay, she goes, Snake, but what about Raditch? There are two reasons why I don't think that she would have went to Raditch. One is that basically Raditch probably still had the anger towards Emma because, in Mercy Street, he tells Emma to leave Rick alone. This is not one of your stupid causes. And basically puts that the Orange Ribbon campaign may have been, in his mind, a way of trying to get him back. Although they weren't breaking rules, but basically with Rick being bullied and all of that, basically he would have an outlet to get mad at Emma and all that. And who knows, maybe he would have went after Emma and all that, demanding answers from Emma. But Emma probably would have given him something about Paige and her clique, saying they started it. But number two, and most likely, is that, remember, after the paint and feathers fell, Raditch went on the school video system and shamed the school, saying that I have never been embarrassed in all this. I will find you, whoever's responsible for this attack. So basically, he was going to help Rick out. He was going to be pro-Rick. And I think he would have protected Rick enough that he would not have believed Emma and all that. But that could have also been a catalyst for Snake blowing at Raditch. I know that Snake blew off at Raditch twice. But I mean, also the fact that, he has a virtual grudge against Emma. Basically, Snake would have had more ammo to try to destroy Raditch's career. And basically he would have been like, I don't mind if I go down with you, but I'm doing it for the right reasons. And then Raditch probably would have had to admit he flubbed it. So anyway, yeah. Next up is, what if the deleted scenes actually were put in the clean product? Now, first run and all that, they show everything, even its indication, like how it was shown first run in 2004. But there were two deleted scenes that you could basically see on the Degrassi DVD, Season 4 DVD, or YouTube, that basically would have made sense. The first one was obviously when Rick comes back to school in Mercy Street. Marco and Alex decide to have a talk with Raj. Raj basically says that with Terry not at school, not at Degrassi, I can't talk about her status and all that. And basically, they're upset that they let Rick back, saying it's not about the GPA, it's about violence towards women. But Raj comes off as saying that, to my attention, nobody has said anything about criminal charges. And until someone has a criminal charge, he or she will study at my school. Simple as that. Now, of course, it wasn't completely established if he actually gave Rick full access to the school, or he basically told Rick that there's some stuff that he has to abide by. Like, Rick said he would go to Sove and all that, but I think that was forced upon him. But if that was actually known, if the average viewer knew that, because, it would have made Raditch less sympathetic, a little more sympathetic, because, Raditch basically, there was no criminal charges. And it's like, why didn't anyone put a criminal charge on him? Especially Terry's dad, of all people. But then again, a lot of people said that Terry would not get her answers because, how brain damaged she was from the coma and all that. So basically put, that Rick might have got lucky and all that. But still. And the second deleted scene is basically the scene that after Spinner and Jimmy have a literal fight, they walk together in the hallway, which is like, how the hell did they not go to the principal's office right off the bat? But basically, they talk and all that, and then Spinner can't resist calling Rick a chicken, like bark, 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 and then Raj hears it and tells Spinner to meet him at 3:30 after school. And then he goes to Rick and apologizes for what happened to him, that he could take the rest of the day off. Rick says, I'm going to go to my locker. Raj is fine, that's fine. And then basically put, Snake is not too happy with Raj blowing him off and all that. And this leads us to the next what if, is what if Raj actually checked on Rick's whereabouts after he talked to Rick? Now, we all know that Rick wanted to pull the gun on Paige, but Paige calmed him down saying that everything was childish. And basically, Rick realized that Paige could not have been part of the Pain and Feathers. So he decides to go clean himself up and all that. And Raj did tell Rick to go to his locker, but basically said to come back later. Obviously, Raj didn't know Rick's whereabouts because Rick went into the bathroom and then he was going to probably leave on his own accord, I guess. And then he finds out through Spinner and Jay that Jimmy might have been behind this, so he goes back to his locker to take the gun and then stays and shoots Jimmy and then wants to go after Emma. I think he probably would have left on his own accord if it wasn't for Spinner and Jay. But I think that if Raj had basically, like, where were the staff members? I guess Raj figured that Rick would have just done all that. And I mean, Raj was trying to suck up to Rick in a sense, do a 180. So, like, there was nothing wrong with Raj telling the staff members that if you see Rick, just gently get him out of the school and all that, because, you know, he'll think of something. I think that it might have shown that Raj at least cared about Rick enough that basically he was hoping Rick was not going to do anything stupid, but Rick did something stupid. Also, what if Rick didn't wear his paint and feathers? Now, that's the thing that concerned me the most, because, you know, when Rick goes back to school, he still has his freaking outfit on. He went home. He could have changed and all that. But, you know, the question is, what if he didn't wear the paint and feathers? I think it might have been the same situation. But here's the thing, though. The paint and feathers was actually a tell for Jay and Spinner in the bathroom scene when they blamed Jimmy for everything. Because without the paint and feathers, how did Jay know that Rick was in the bathroom, was in the stall, and they basically told Spinner everything? Because if he had guessed incorrectly, it was Jay, Rick. Pardon it. Basically, things would have been harsh. The fact of the matter is that basically, yeah, like, you know, without the painted feathers, I think maybe if Jay and Spinner tried to alleviate Jimmy, then Rick would have come out of the stall and basically told Jay and Spinner everything. But he might have had a feeling to shoot Jay and Spinner, go back to the locker and get those two. Or he probably would just come out of they say that, what are you talking about with Jimmy and all that? And then he would have questioned himself whether Jimmy was it or it was Jay and Spinner basically playing tricks on him. And, of course, that leads to the next what if. What if Rick didn't believe Jay and Spinner's bullshit? Because not only did that happen once in the bathroom about them pinning everything on Jimmy and all that, it happened twice. In Time Stands Still Part 1, when Rick saves the team and puts them in a tiebreaker, they have a commercial break, and then basically they wash up in the bathroom and all that. Jimmy talks to Rick, and then Jimmy leaves the bathroom, whereas Spinner and Jay tell Rick that, you know, you're saving the school with your smarts, everything is cool, and Rick's happy, and then he leaves the bathroom, but out of earshot, basically, Spinner and Jay basically concoct the paint and feathers and all that, knowing that basically if they got if they got Rick to believe their BS, then basically Rick would not have had an inkling that Jay and Spinner were going to double cross him. And that's where he doesn't know about the paint and feathers and all that. And of course, you know, the bathroom scene when they blame Jimmy and all that. Well, things would have been worse for Jay and Spinner. I mean, I'll confess something. I think Jay being hurt, I would be happy with. Because Jay was such a thug. In season 3, he basically pulled Sean away from Emma. And, you know, he had no redeeming qualities. I mean, yeah, he went on a redemption arc in season 6 and 7. But, like, still, like, fuck, I can't tell the guy. I even tweeted Mike Lovell saying that your character was scum and all that. but basically put, yeah. So, yeah, that was huge. Yeah, like, Jay and Spinner could have got hurt. Rick probably would have had force tour de force and basically got his gun back and shoot Jay and Spinner, realizing that they had played him for a trump. Okay, so this is a major what if. Okay, what if Terry died of her trauma in season 3? Basically, before season 4 even happens. Well, basically, Rick would have got charged and all that. Obviously, he would have had a criminal charge if Terry died, because if he died, that you did kill someone, not on purpose, but like still involuntary manslaughter is causing death is a huge thing in Canada, despite what you think of our justice system. But basically put, it would be harsh. I mean, yeah, Rick might have had this as a season 4 subplot. We probably would have thought of something else. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, that's what happened. I felt bad for Terry. What if Jimmy died because of Rick? Now, when Rick shot Jimmy, it's important to know, and I always say this in my videos, that when Rick shot Jimmy, he did not look at Jimmy. He basically turned his head, to the left, like this, and then had the gun in his other hand and shot him. So basically, he turned his head while he shot Jimmy, and he got him in the spine. Because if Rick had intended to kill Jimmy, he would have got Jimmy in the head and basically game, set, match. Or even in the back where the organs are. So basically, yeah. So basically, but the problem is that would they have allowed Rick to stay alive, or would they have had Rick be killed off just like he did with Sean? Basically, he killed somebody, but then he gets killed himself and all that. Basically, it would have been eye for an eye, I guess. I don't know. But then again, thanks to Rick, yeah, you can take it 2 ways. Does Rick survive in this thing, or does Rick not survive? Well, when I did my fanfic in the playlist, basically I established that Rick had survived and that somehow Jimmy and Sean died, and then basically truths would have been found out and all that. This would have been in the Degrassi canon before Raj was forcibly removed from Degrassi because of his inattentiveness, and basically before Spinner and Jay got in trouble in real life in season 4. Yeah, that would have been messy. Now this one you might not believe, but this is true. What if Emma didn't abandon her causes? Now this does have to do with the Rick Murray situation because of one thing and one thing only. In season 4, after nearly being shot at, Emma had her PTSD. She basically wasn't herself, and everyone thought she would bounce back. She always does. But basically she doesn't. She ends up going to the ravine with Jay. She feels better, but a gonorrhea attack basically makes her the brunt of school's jokes. And basically she's not who she is. Thankfully she stopped everything from happening. But she told Snake and Spike, that basically after Rick died, she just couldn't be herself. And I think it basically meant that she was upset with herself for being something that to bully Rick and all that, because her Orange Ribbon campaign was not meant to bully Rick into submission, but basically was meant to help these people. And then she figured that she screwed up and that she should not be praised and all that. She probably felt guilty about Rick dying and all that because, she felt like she was responsible in some way. But obviously she wasn't, all that. But then again, there was another piece of Emma that died with her. That died. Well, she didn't die, but a piece of her that actually died. And that was her causes. Because after season 4, she didn't really take up a lot of causes, except for getting Sean out of jail in season 6 and Purple Dragon in season 7. Basically, she lost her drive. And basically, I think the shooting had something to do with it. I think after realizing her cause led to Rick being killed somehow, even though that he was going to kill her, she felt guilty. And then she started becoming boy crazy and all that. I still think the writers basically had a lot of flack from fans saying that you got to change Emma's character before she really gets hated. But anyway, I think Emma still would have been hated in a sense, but there would have been more sympathy because remember, she had the gun at her. And I think Emma basically is terrible and all that. I think Emma basically I think Emma still would have been hated, but not as much. Anyway, what if Terry was in season 4? Simple enough. Terry. It's actually hard to say if she appeared in season 4 about the Rick Murray situation, what she would have done. She probably would have been, with her character, she probably would have said that, Rick's suffering enough. Why don't you leave him alone? Basically, if she intervenes, I think many people would back off because, Terry's intervening. But who knows? Maybe Spinner J. Alex, possibly Paige, would have told her, we're doing this for you, hun. And Terry says, I'm sick and tired of you doing these things for me. Like, you're doing it for me, thanks. But, this is going too far and all that. Maybe she stands up to Rick. But then, again, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she just says that, you're punishing him enough. You should stop this. He's not going to leave Degrassi. You can hate him all you want, but basically, he's not going to leave Degrassi. So anyway, okay, so basically, that would lead to the next one. What if Rick didn't come back to Degrassi? I think, in a sense, that Rick being at Degrassi actually did a lot more for people's character developments than you think they do, especially like a few of them. Like, the Rick Murray situation got Jimmy, aka Drake, to basically, go into his music and basically make sporadic appearances, blah, blah, blah. And basically he became a mega star and all that. Although, Jimmy probably would have been much better off being able-bodied and then getting knocked off the show. But it actually had a lot to do with Toby's character development because, Toby basically was abandoned by JT, and then basically without the Rick situation, I think JT would not have thought twice about coming back to Rick. I mean, to Toby as a friend and all that. It helped Emma, though, too, because, it took Emma from this stuck-up, prudish person to somebody who was human in a sense. Okay, maybe the writers screwed up in making her boy crazy and all that. I think she just didn't want to be alone. I think Emma being boy crazy, and that should be a hot take / unpopular opinion. I think I'll figure that out too. Yeah, maybe I'll write that down. So basically, Emma being boy crazy, I know that it sounded like really out of Emma's character and all that, but basically, yeah, maybe there was a reason why she was boy crazy. I just thought of something. Okay, but anyway, yeah, and what would have happened to Raj on the show if Rick's thing didn't make him look like a bad guy? I think in my mind that, Raj would have been knocked off somehow, but it got rid of him. I mean, Dan Woods was ready to move on and all that. Thankfully, he was willing to move on, and not the Degrassi writers wanted to get rid of him. Yeah, so basically, Rick's storyline actually helped other people come in. So here we go. What if Emma wasn't so petty? Now, basically, Emma's pettiness was huge in the 3rd episode of season 4, when she basically was upset that after losing Chris over the summer, that Liberty had eyes for Chris and all that. Now I know what you're thinking. It's about the racial situation. No, I doubt it. I totally doubt that. But Liberty basically had eyes for Chris, knowing that he's single now. And Emma was upset, thinking that, if Chris couldn't make it work with me, what chance does he have with Liberty? And she thought that basically she was going to do Chris a favor by basically preventing him and Liberty of hitching up. But unfortunately, Manny tells Liberty about Emma's plans to get back at all that. I think Emma really wanted Chris back, but I guess she said she wasn't over Chris. But Liberty basically said that she's over Emma, and basically Emma loses her as a friend, and Manny, and all that. And of course, that was huge because those were 2 main allies to help Emma deal with the problems with Rick being obsessive with her. So basically put, I think that Emma still probably would have found a way in the Rick situation, even if she wasn't so petty. But basically, Liberty and Manny would have helped her get over the problems with Rick and basically told her what to do about Rick and all that. Like, Emma should have had more foresight over Rick's obsessiveness with her. until the wacky brain thing, when he basically holds her hand for too long and whispers, "This is for you," creepily, if I may ask. And of course, it's what if Emma left Rick alone to the bullies? Now, remember, now after losing her friends, basically Emma decides to join up the cause with Paige and all that. After hearing from Paige what happened to Terry via Rick, and basically she gets Raj's ire, and then Paige talks to her about doing a cause to defeat Rick. Nice and legal. So they do the Orange Ribbon campaign to force Rick out. Unfortunately, though, they buy the orange ribbons, but they basically bully Rick heavily. Rick decides to give Emma every cent in his bank account, which is more than $500. Emma thinks this is perfect, but Alex doesn't think so. It rips up the check and rips into them. Emma does tell Alex that you don't understand the cause, and Alex says that, "Oh, don't I? Do you have to deal with your mother's injuries and all that from her abusive boyfriends and all that? I don't think so." Like, Alex would have been sympathetic. She was sympathetic in that mark, but if she wasn't such a bully, I think we would have all given Alex a bit of a sympathetic break. But yeah, Alex just figured that every abusive boyfriend that her mom had to deal with was in the guise of Rick. So basically, you know, you got a lot of problems to deal with. So basically, what you have is Emma without friends and all that. Basically, the cause. But after Alex tells Paige about Emma maybe accepting a check, Paige says, "I hope you're not wimping out and being sympathetic towards him." So no, it's not. So she trips Rick up. Rick goes to talk to her, but the bullies think that he's going to attack her. So they pummel him outside. Emma basically decides to stand up to him before Alex punches him out. Basically, Emma loses her cause, and basically everyone makes her like an outcast. And basically, she's forced to only be with the Wacky Brain team of Rick, Toby, and Heather Sinclair, and then of course Jimmy. So she had no support system, and that was huge and all that. But basically, if Emma had left Rick alone, then basically, if Rick got hurt and all that, she would have had the guilt and all that. She would have felt compelled to tell people about her involvement. But there was also a problem. The problem is that, you know, it still would have been compacted that if something happened to Rick, Raj would have put two and two together and blamed Emma for everything about a campaign to beat up people. Emma probably would not have wavered to Raj. But she also definitely would have basically called out Paige's clique, saying that they were the ones who thought up the idea and all that. They were the ones who did the violence. I didn't think they were going to do violence, and I could have taken money from Rick for the cause and all that. So Emma probably would have been in a whole lot of deep trouble. And maybe Snake would have blown off at Raj, saying that, "Don't you have anything else better to do than to have a grudge against my stepdaughter?" Yeah, I think that would have been huge. What if Rick told people properly about his bullying? Well, when you look at Rick, it's like basically like, you know, he's getting bullied, but who does he tell? He doesn't really tell many people and all that. Basically, he goes to Raditch, and Raditch blows him off. But it was partially Rick's fault, too. Because, you know, Rick didn't say the magic words. Rick said that he's bothered me and he won't be my friend. And basically, Raditch took it as face value. If Rick had been completely honest and said, "Oh, well, he's been bullying me," then Raj would have taken it seriously. And I think Raj would have definitely done something about it. But Rick was not better at first. He didn't tell his parents anything. All that. It was evident in the scene that basically Rick gets dressed up by his mom for the Wacky Brain thing. She says that, "I wanted you to go to another school." And I said, "You worry too much, mother." I mean, the fact of the matter is that Rick had the right idea. Because, I mean, Rick actually ended up, you know, thinking about it and saying, "I want to go back to Degrassi. I just want to know how bad it would be." And all that. And he could have stewed at Lakehurst and all that. But basically, he didn't anticipate them beating the crap out of him. After all, I mean, the students did have a point for getting rid of Rick. But the fact is that Rick deserved better. And if he had been honest with everyone around him and told about the bullying and all that, and not go with the snitches get stitches philosophy, basically, I think that Rick would have got his answers. Who knows? Maybe he would have been it would have just basically have been for his benefit, and he definitely would have won out and won our sympathy and all that. Anyway, next is what if Spitter didn't brag to Jimmy? Now, this was a part that I think a lot of people forget about. In Time Stand Still Part 2, around the same time Rick returns to the school, Spinner and Jimmy talk about the paint and feathers. You know, Jimmy was Rick's teammate on Wacky Brain. And basically, Spinner says that a genius did this. Oh, chicken boy, ha 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 ha. And basically, he was upset with the fact that Jimmy was protecting Rick, especially in Time Stand Still Part 1 when Jimmy took Rick's side against Spinner, Jay, and Alex, and basically they were pissed off. And basically, Spinner was upset over the fact that Jimmy was protecting him and all that Jimmy should be on their side. And they have a literal fight. They get breaking up, and then in the deleted scene, they walk together. It was like, what the fuck? Doesn't make sense. They should have both been sent to the principal's office. Maybe Jimmy probably doesn't tell Raj about what Spinner had said. Who knows? But basically, Spinner bragging all that. Because when Rick cleans himself up and then hides in the stall, Spinner basically tells Jay, dude, Raditch knows. And that's why he says Raditch knows, because, well, that's what we get from it, is that basically he thinks that Jimmy's going to narc on him. But also, like if you take the deleted scene with the chicken boy and all that, basically Raj wants Spinner to talk to him at 3:30 and all that. Now, Jay was trying to do Spinner solid by basically trying to protect him from harm and all that. But yeah, if Spinner didn't brag about it, maybe Spinner and Jay might not have been found out. Maybe Spinner didn't have to panic and Jay tried to help him cope with it by shooting Jimmy and all that. You got to realize that Jimmy and Spinner basically were kind of on and off against friends and all that. But basically, yeah, Spinner would not have had to deal with guilt and all that. And then maybe that would have been bad for his character because, you know, he went on that redemption arc in season 5. Okay, what if Raj didn't fail everyone? Especially Rick. The problem with this is that basically, you know, a lot of people paint Raditch as the bad guy, as a terrible guy, maybe one of the worst offenders in the Rick Murray storyline. But when I did my good to bad list, I put Raditch at number 5. He missed the top tier of 4 people. He missed the top tier. Because Alex basically was bad. She had the right idea that she had to deal with her mother's abusive boyfriends, but the way she wanted to destroy Rick and all that was inexcusable. Spinner basically threw Jimmy under the bus, in a sense, to try to clear his guilt. He still had the guilt. And I know he told Jimmy and all that, but he had to alleviate his guilt. Spinner was less evil than Jay, and Jay basically was the evil one. And then Rick won first place because he shot somebody. So basically, yeah, what if Raj hadn't failed everyone? The problem is that with Rick's problems with talking to Raj actually contributed to his own demise. Like, you know, you could blame Raj, but you can also blame Rick. Because if Rick was more straightforward, then Raj would have definitely done something about it. But the problem with Raj was that it wasn't just that he ignored Rick and then it blew up into a school shooting. It was the aftermath. I mean, yeah, he was trying to keep the school in good rapport. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, the school's on the 6 o'clock news, making him look bad and all that. And he cancels Dracula, even though JT Liberty and the Travel Club worked so hard on it. I mean, he could have postponed it, saying that we have to wait a while because we need to have the furor of the shooting die down. Further, I should say. Die down. And basically, JT and Liberty took him to task. He's upset with how he's being portrayed and all that. Basically, that's the problem with Raj, is that basically he doesn't take constructive criticism well within Next Generation. So basically, he's punitive. And that's what happens. That was his last major role as principal, as he gets removed and resigned a couple of days later. You know, they did give him a decent send-off and all that, but I think Raj deserved a better send-off and all that. After all, he was an OG. And last but certainly not least is, what if Rick did not retaliate? Simple enough. Everyone would have had a lot more sympathy towards Rick. Rick would have won out, and hey, we would have basically thought of ourselves in Rick's shoes and all that. What would we do? Now, it's important to know that even though Rick was getting the crap beaten out of him and all this stuff, he basically took it at face value. The problem is that maybe, just maybe, he screwed up. And I know he screwed up. He knew he screwed up. But you know what? All this stuff was bottling up inside him, and basically Spinner and Jimmy took advantage of it, threw his chapeau and him into a dumpster. The next day, Rick spray paints everyone's cars with the circle with the X on it and all that. And basically, Alex, even though she doesn't really have proof, decides to pin Rick for that. Of course, Rick doesn't help matters by basically flashing the sign at Spinner, Jay, and Alex. So the fact of the matter is that, you know, Rick retaliated, and that's what got Spinner, Jay, and Alex to basically put their efforts to get rid of him up to 11, if you will. And basically, that's what led to the Paint and Feathers and all the downfall and all that. I mean, Rick would have won. Rick would have won everybody. Like, the thing I should say is that Rick did have the right idea to retaliate. Like, I can understand his motive. His motive was that, I've been bullied like this. How would you like it if someone gets to you and all that? See what it's like in my shoes and all that. I mean, he had the right idea, but unfortunately, that just got Spinner, Jay, and Alex's dander up. Spinner and dander. Well, anyhow. So, like, you know, I can understand where Rick comes from and all that. I'm sympathetic towards the fact that he retaliated, trying to hope that the bullies would find out what it was like to be Rick and all that. And basically, maybe they let off the pedal. Nope. Wrongo. Sometimes retaliation just doesn't work. And it could lead to a whole lot of trouble. And for Rick, it did. I'm sorry, but you just can't be sympathetic towards Rick. I can't. I just can't be sympathetic towards Rick. Anyway, so thanks for watching this video and have yourself a good day.